You wrote a book, which is great, fantastic, congratulations. It is not an easy thing to do. You went from a blank page to a completed document, manuscript, manifesto, if you will, and now you're looking at it, proud of yourself, clapping yourself on the back, and now you're like, what do I do now? How do I go from getting this document off of my computer and out into the world? And that is what this video is here to answer. Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Written Melanin channel. If you've never seen me before, my name is Chelsea and I write books about black girls who aren't all that nice. Couple of disclaimers before we get into this discussion. First, this is advice. Take it with a grain of salt, okay? This is what I've learned through my journey of publishing multiple books throughout the years and what I've learned from talking to multiple authors throughout the years. So, that being said, I'm also talking to people with a budget. While it is 100% possible to publish your book for free and under, this video is not that. However, if you do not have a budget and you are looking for a free and under video, keep watching this because it is going to give you the basics of what you need to do in order to get your book from draft to actual bookshelves. This video is sponsored by the Melanin Library, your online database of books written by black authors. And if you've never been to it before, you can go. It's an absolutely free resource, and it's a very good reason to diversify your bookshelf, especially in 2025 if you live in America. And if you live in America in 2025, you know exactly why I'm suggesting that you go read a book by a black author. This is also your reminder to join our book club, the DNF Book Club. It is with myself, CM Lockhart, as well as La Purvis and Tatiana OB. We are black authors reading books by black authors and having honest discussions with them. If you'd like to join the discussion, then please join the channel or join our Patreon at patreon.com/writtenmelanin and come join the conversations where we talk honestly and openly in a safe environment about the books that we read, what we think about them, what we love about them, and everything in between. So, DNF Book Club, where you have to respect the book, not finish it. So, that out the way, this series is going to be broken down into three major parts: prep, market, and sell. Those are three completely different things. They kind of feed into each other, but you're going to want to pay attention, take notes, and if you have any questions along the way, just leave them down in the comments below and I will do my best to get to them. So let's start at the very beginning, okay? And that is prepping your book. I know that once your book is done, a lot of authors jump straight to, oh, I can throw it up on Amazon. Don't recommend that in March 2025. But you can throw it up on Amazon or you can just drop it and people will come, because I'm sure you've heard the saying that there is a market for every book. There is, but the thing is you have to know how to reach that market, and that does take time, that takes preparation. So the first thing that you're going to do after you celebrate writing your book, you're going to make a timeline. And in that timeline, you're going to give yourself space to do four major things. First, you're going to get an editor, you are going to get a formatter, you're going to get a cover artist, and then you are going to get readers. These are your four major aspects, and you're going to start with your editor. Now, I say that I'm speaking to people with a budget because you have to pay editors, generally speaking, unless you just know one. And if you are an editor, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, okay? Your virtual hand. We're holding hands right now, okay? You cannot edit your own book. I don't care how skilled you are. You need someone else to look at your book because you will be blind to it, okay? I say it with love. I say it with love. So, that said, you need an editor. I recommend getting a developmental editor because readers will forgive you if you have bad grammar or maybe not the best sentences, but they will not forgive you for glaring plot holes and weak character development. So I recommend paying for a developmental editor. I will link to one that I highly recommend in the description box below. Her name is Tatiana OB. I don't know, she's kind of my homie, she's kind of my friend, but she's also crazy talented and she's the best editor that I have ever worked with. So she comes highly recommended, and I have worked with many an editor. So that said, get a good developmental editor, and if you have the bands for it, go ahead and get you a copy editor / proofreader too, because you want your book to be as polished as possible, because the two things that readers are going to judge your book on are what it looks like on the outside and the content that they get on the inside. And speaking of the outside, the second thing that you are going to really want to spend your coins on is a cover artist, because I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care how you feel about your book. I don't care. Okay? People judge books by their covers. And if you want people to take your book seriously, you seriously need a good cover. So I recommend getting a cover artist. I recommend finding someone whose art that you like and reaching out to them. But I'm going to warn you, if you have a budget and you're an indie author and this is your first book, you're going to see advice on the internet. And it's going to tell you, hey, go find your favorite book off of the shelf and see who did the cover art for this traditionally published book and reach out to that artist. let me tell you something. That artist will say yes. That artist is going to come up with a comma in the price tag, okay? Because they work with traditional publishing. So if you're on a budget, like, I don't know, a new indie author might have, I highly recommend reaching out to either new artists or freelance artists or someone like that who has experience, who can work with you within a reasonable budget. You know what reasonable is for your wallet. So I say this because most artists will work with you if you communicate how much that you have to work with. So keep that in mind. If you are working on a free and under budget, stock images exist, Canva exists, Adobe Express exists. There are artists who are willing to do a barter and trade. If you have services that you can trade for their covers, there are lots of ways to get covers. So please don't be discouraged if you're like, I don't have the coins to spend on a cover artist. And also, free pro tip, if you're working with a cover artist, you want the front cover, the back cover, and the spine. And if you don't know how thick your book is going to be, ask for a 1.5-inch spine that you can trim down. That works. That works, okay? That covers all of your bases. That being said, once you have your editor, once you have your cover artist, then you're going to move on to your formatting. And your formatting can be done very simply. There are a lot of software that do this for you. I'm pretty sure Scrivener does it for you. There's Atticus if you have a PC. There is Vellum if you have a Mac. You can also hire someone to do freelancing. It usually costs somewhere between like $100 to $200 to have somebody do it for you if you're looking for like custom formatting or full page images or custom scene breaks and you don't want to have to pay for the software yourself. That is also something that I recommend getting a budget for, but if you don't have a budget for it or your budget is tight, that is something that you can learn how to do for yourself rather simply, and there are a lot of free software that do it for you, one of them also being Readsy. So check out any of those resources, get into it, and that leads us to the fun part of prepping your book, and that is getting your readers. And you are going to need alpha readers and beta readers. The difference between these, alpha readers are the ones who read your book when it's basically still pretty raw. If you're watching this video, you probably have already had an alpha reader or two read your story already, and that's literally anyone outside of yourself who's read it before you've had anyone else touch it professionally. Your beta readers are the ones where you go back, you self-edit, you clean it up as much as you can, and now you're sending it out to people, asking them for their feedback on, okay, how does this read? How does this feel? Like, give me comments, give me places to improve on. Beta readers are super important. However, you can have too many. I recommend having anywhere between 5 and 15 beta readers. Any more than that, and you are really opening up yourself to have too many opinions, to have actionable things to improve your story with. My recommendation for this is you have 5 to 10 beta readers that you send your story out to up front, get their feedback, make your self edits, hire a developmental editor, go through it, make those edits, and then you send your book out to those last 5 to 10 beta readers that you have. And those 3 steps together in that order should get you a clean enough manuscript to work with. And if you still have the coins for it, I recommend getting a proofreader or copy editor depending on how you write. You know your strength. If you know that you need help with your prose, get a copy editor. If you know that your prose is strong and you just need to clean up, then get a proofreader. Some editors work really quick and can give you a 6-week turnaround. Some of them take longer and are going to give you a 3 to 6 month turnaround, especially depending on how long your book is. Shorter books don't take as long, longer books take longer. That's just kind of how it works. But that being said, once those things are built into your schedule, then you can move on to step 2 of prepping your book. Step 2 of publishing your book is probably the most nerve-wracking if you're an introvert, but that is going to be finding your team. And what I mean by this is you need to find your peers, your colleagues, people who believe in you, the author, to help you make some noise about this book when it comes out. So that means when you are ready to market your book, when you are ready to start trying to make these sales, when you are ready to announce these pre-orders and your campaigns and everything else, you have people who are going to repost, reshare, put it in their stories, tell their audience about it, newsletter swap with you. These are going to be the people who are the ones that you go to when you're like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing. Can you help me on this day and time? And they're like, yeah, send it to me. Send me the graphics, send me the captions, send me the posts. It's similar to a street team, but the difference is these are other authors who you respect, work with, and it's usually very reciprocal, meaning that if they help you post your stuff, you help them post their stuff. So I recommend finding authors, readers, other professionals who either read, write, or exist in the same bookish space that you do. Meaning that if you write fantasy, try to find some fantasy authors. If you write romance, try to find some romance authors. If you write historical thrillers, then find other people who write historical thrillers so that you are reaching out and casting a net for the same audience, but it's just much wider. These are going to be super important because these are the people who are going to be behind you and not just this one project. So I always say try to work with your peers and your colleagues, not your fans. Your fans are for your street team and your ARC readers later on down the road. But this right here, these are your homies. This is your author council. And if you don't know what author council is, then I highly recommend that you go check out one of my previous videos where I explain exactly what an author council is. But once you have the people behind you, and I recommend having no less than 3 people, like 3 good people who will be like, hey, I got you. I will help reshare this. Because usually, generally speaking, March 2025, most algorithms on social media, once you have 2 to 3 people resharing things in a short period of time, it'll start to pick up traction organically. And that is what you want, especially when we start talking about marketing your book in the next video. So once you have your team of homies behind you, lined up, ready to go, your timeline is set, the final step of prepping your book for publishing is making the big decisions. This is where you sit down and you get all of your ducks in a row. You decide, how are you going to distribute this book? Are you going to put it on Ingram Spark? Are you going to put it on Amazon? Are you going to use Drafted Digital? Are you going to use Lulu? Are you going to sell it direct on your website? Are you going to buy your own ISBNs? Are you going to use free ISBNs? If you're going to print it yourself, staple it together, and pass it out as packets at the hospital, whatever it is that you are going to do to get your book out there. I don't recommend that you do the last one. Honestly, that was a joke. That was sarcasm. So I just want you guys to know that. But if you're working with a free and under budget, I understand. All right. But this is going to be the stage where you set up your author website. And as a pro tip, I'm going to pitch on some free game. If you want podcasts, if you want interviews, if you want to be in bookstores, if you want to have that professional aura, like this is really what I do, I'm really an author, you need an author website. I recommend it be your name or some version of your name.com or some version of your name author.com, whatever. But you need a website, you need a newsletter, and you need to make sure that your social handles are as consistent as possible across your social media profiles. It makes it easier for people to find you. And when you are doing your intros and outros, like if I were to say, hey, you guys can follow me online anywhere at C. Lockhart Write. C. Lockhart, my last name, Write. Guess what? You can now follow me on, I was going to say Twitter, but you can't follow me there anymore because I'm not there anymore. But you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Blue Sky. You can follow me on TikTok. You can follow me on pretty much any social media platform at that one handle. And it doesn't matter which one you go to, it's going to be correct. So I highly recommend that you get your ducks in a row. That's what this third section is all about. It's about giving yourself time to do your research. Now, I can tell you that if you're in America, 2025, I highly recommend that you get an Ingram Sparks catalog, whether that be through Ingram Spark themselves or you use Drafted Digital or some other platform that distributes to their catalog. But if you want to be in libraries, if you want to be in bookstores, if you want your book to be accessible, I highly, highly recommend that you get into Ingram Sparks catalog one way or another. I also recommend that you sell your books direct, but that's a whole other conversation. If you guys want a video on that, let me know down in the comments below and we can talk about it. But this is where you get your distribution together, your website, your newsletter, your branding. And I also recommend that you pick your niche. And I'm not saying that you have to live here forever, but I am saying that you should know very confidently what it is that you write and how it is that you want to market your book. Are you going to market that it's a romance? Are you going to market that, hey, it's a sapphic fairy tale mermaid retelling? Are you going to market that, hey, it's told from the villain's perspective? Whatever it is that makes your story unique, hone in on it, lean into it, and tell people exactly what it is and get comfortable telling people exactly what it is. I recommend that you come up with a log line. You need something strong, an elevator pitch to tell people what your book is about. Like when I say, hey, I wrote a book called We Are the Origin, and it's about a group of assassins who have to work together to save the gods in their realm from destruction. Tells you exactly what the book is. Or if I say, hey, I wrote The Lady Widow, Death Among the Stars, and it follows a grieving widow as she becomes an intergalactic bounty hunter in order to avenge the murder of her husband. That's what the book is about. That's what the series is about. So know how to pitch your book, know how to tell people what it is, know how you're going to distribute it, know how you are going to brand yourself as an author. And I highly recommend that when you are prepping all of this for publish, that you spend the most time on this, because if you set this up correctly, you never have to do it again, which makes it so easy. And the hardest part is doing it the first time. But once everything is set up, all of your other books will just fall into line and it'll be so much easier to do. For me personally, I have my books set up through Ingram Spark. I also make them available on Amazon, and I also sell them direct. That is what I choose to do. I found that to be the most successful way to get my books out in the world, but that is also dependent on how much you want to market. In 2025, I do not recommend that Amazon be the only way you publish your book, but I can't tell you what to do. You're grown or close enough to it if you're watching this video. That being said, those are my top 3 points for getting ready to publish your book. In the next video, I will talk about how to market your book, which is a completely different beast. But make sure you have all your ducks in a row, take the time, put your timeline together, find your team who's going to support you throughout this, and decide how you're going to publish your book and make all those big decisions before you start announcing it. But that being said, this is just a kickoff point. So make sure you do your own research. If you have questions, for sure, put them down in the comments below. I will help however I can. And if you'd like to book some time with me, I do offer coaching sessions through my Patreon. So get into that, sign up for it. I would love to help you. And that's it. So if you watched all the way to the end, then please leave the phrase, "I'm ready for my author journey," down in the comments below, or you can just leave a brown heart if you're like, "Chelsea, I'm not doing that." I'm not doing that. But thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you guys in the next video. And until next time, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting. Bye.